If you want to run faster, jump higher, and be stronger in your sport, then you need isometric strength. Isometric strength is one of the most important aspects of your athleticism and your ability to prevent injuries. So here are 4 exercises to help increase your speed and help heal the injuries you have so you can train more. The first one's going to be a hamstring isometric. This one's going to be a yielding one. So all we're going to do is get on the ground. And you can do a different couple options with this. So you can make it, you could turn your feet out and make it more outer hamstring dominant. You could turn your feet in and get inner hamstring and some tibial rotation, which some people lack just from ankle sprains. All you're gonna do is push your lower back, and I'm gonna do feet in and then do like a little bit of a glute bridge, but it's gonna be pushing through the heels. If you want more glute, you can have, shorter levers and do a little bit more of a glute bridge, but what we're doing is a hamstring ISO. So we're gonna go long lever, so almost straight leg or slightly bent, push through the heels. And then usually for the sets and reps, we're gonna do about 3 to 4 sets of 30 to 45 seconds. There's even something called an extreme yielding isometric, where you'll see me do on Instagram, where it's like 3 minutes, and they also have their benefits for overall reducing compensations and tendon health. This is really good because isometrics are the foundation to absorbing force in sprinting. And if you can't absorb force, you can't run fast because you can't produce elastic energy. So this is a foundation for building strength, and also it helps with tendon pain in the hamstring and reduce overall injuries when sprinting, which is one of the most common things is hamstring injuries. So that's the first exercise. The second one's going to be a single leg overcoming isometric. With the last exercise, we did a yielding isometric. Something I didn't mention that also trains something called the amortization phase, which is the bottom catching portion of a sprint and a jump. If you have a weak amortization phase, your leg will usually buckle or give out when you sprint. And even there is some kind of transfer over where if you can't absorb force in this position, your knees probably won't drive as high, and a lot of people will blame hip flexors, but usually it's the tendon strength at the bottom or isometric strength at the bottom. Another way to train the amortization phase of your sprinting and jumping is overcoming isometrics, right? So like I said, this whole video is isometrics, but this one's different. Yielding is holding, where you're holding a specific load for a certain amount of time. Now, overcoming, we're pushing as hard as possible for a specific amount of time. So you can push into pins and go right here and then push through the Achilles tendon right here as hard as possible for 5 to 8 seconds usually. You never really wanna go above 8 seconds. You can go up to 10 at most, I've seen some people do, but we don't wanna go too high. Now, if you don't have a barbell to push your pins into, by the way, with the specifics here, I'm sorry, you usually wanna get into a quarter stance position. So be either right here or straight leg, and then get up to your calf raise and push as hard as possible into the pins. You can do a little bit deeper, like quarter squat, and then if you're a 2-foot jumper, you can even get down here and do like a hinge where the barbell's right here, and then you're pulling as hard as possible in this half squat position, which is how you jump from a 2-foot jump, right? Another way you could do it, this is more acceleration specific, but you get into a deep knee right here and look at the shin angle, right? You have knee way far beyond the toe, but you're also in acceleration position, right? And then you're pushing as hard as possible for 5 to 8 seconds into this wall, and your goal is to move the pins, move the squat rack, or literally push the wall away from you, and that's how you're gonna produce a lot of max strength. So it also develops a lot of max strength. Think about doing a barbell squat and you're putting 300, 400 pounds onto your back,
intro,
right? You got a lot of load on the spine, you got a lot of load on the legs and the central nervous system, so you're gonna be tired for multiple days. But when you have 0 pounds, 45 pounds right here, and all you're doing is pushing in, you're developing max strength at specific joint angles. This is as specific to sprinting as you could possibly get. You're developing max strength by pushing as hard as possible, but you're not getting the load of putting 300, 400 pounds on your back. You can do the same thing with the wall. It's not as good, but if you can get pins, that's probably the best way.
The third one's going to be a split stance yielding isometric.
All right, this next one is a 90-degree or 60-degree split stance lunge. You could do body weight or you could do weighted. Right now I'm doing weighted. You'll see me on Instagram. I'll do something like this where I get all the way into a 90-degree lunge, and you're just gonna hold here. It's a yielding isometric, which means you're holding the weight. You can also do body weight, like I said, and just hold right here. Another little thing is you wanna turn your foot, the heel out, but that's a little bit advanced. You don't have to do it. You're gonna get a little more glute or inner groin. But we're just yielding right here, and we have a couple options. So you can do vertical shin. This can be more glute and hip flexors. You'll feel a lot in your hip flexor, but you can also do, if you have more knee pain, you do shin over toe or knee over toe, and you'll get a lot more patella tendon, right? So more patella tendon, this is gonna be more glute and more hip flexor, right? But a lot of people who have knee pain, you wanna load your knee pain which means you wanna get in a nice tall position and put this knee over the toe. And it's kind of the same benefits as the hamstring. You wanna be isometrically strong in these positions so you have less compensations, and you also don't wanna sprint with bad knees or jump with bad knees, so you need to load the tendons so you can actually get healthier. This will help prevent injuries and help you jump higher and run faster. The fourth one's gonna be a Spanish squat isometric, right? So we're gonna put the band behind the hamstring. This will allow you to naturally get your knees to come forward a little bit more. You can do it without the band, you don't need the band, but it will put some more tension to the front of the knee. This is really good for ACL rehab, MCL rehab, but you're right here, you're gonna get to a 90-degree position, and then a really good way to load it is to grab this and get into a goblet squat. What's cool about a goblet squat is that it forces your torso to be vertical, when usually a lot of people squat hinge dominant, so there's not as much load to the knee, but when you put a goblet squat, now your torso is vertical, which pushes your knees to push over your toes, right? Which will put more load to patella tendon. This band will help you relieve a little bit of tension, a little bit of pain, and then you're loading this patella tendon right here for, like I said, for yielding isometrics, 30 to 45 seconds. This will help reduce pain, and then once you reduce pain, you can train more. One of the biggest things that are holding people back is that they're always getting injured. I always get injured myself in the past, but the more you keep training like this, the more isometrics you do, less compensations, which leads to less injuries because you're doing less incorrect movements, and also less pain overall, so you can train more. The more training you could do, the more consistency you have, the better you're gonna get. At the end of the day, it's a long run game, so if you can stop yourself from getting injured, you're going to get better. Hope this helps. I'll get you back at my apartment. All right?